Hello, everyone. Welcome to Four Sacred Gifts. I'm Dr. Anita Sanchez. I'm Nawa, Aztec, and Toltec. And I love speaking to you and that you're coming and sharing and opening your heart and mind to what Indigenous people from around the world have to share. And today I have an amazing, really wonderful young guest. And I know you see on my show all different ages. And that's important because you need to know who we are, what we're doing, and how essential we are um, to this time, especially. Who I have with me is Joannah Tindongan. Am I saying it right? Probably not. You can pronounce it
It's
correctly.
Tindongan.
Tindongan?
Tindongan. Mhm.
Don. Is the N, do you pronounce after Don? Or no, Tindongan?
It's merged together. It's
Okay.
like the end of if you were to say song. It's
Okay,
like that.
Tindongan. Okay, Tindongan. Doggin. All right. This is Joannah Tindongan, and she's teaching me how to say her words correct, her name correctly. And she's from the Philippines. She'll be telling you a lot more about her life in a moment. I just want to tell you a little bit about her background. She's amazing. One of the amazing things, and she'll tell you about it, is she's just finished a job with a really wonderful group, and she is trusting spirit that it's going to work out. That she will listen to the call of whatever that is that's to come. So she'll only be here a few more weeks in the United States, and then she'll be going back to the Philippines where her family is. Anyway, it's a little bit about her background is that she was a development and communication specialist for an Indigenous-owned organization, run, operated, to uplift the voices of traditional knowledge of the world's Indigenous elders and wisdom keepers through events, education, international representation of Indigenous priorities and issues and solutions. She also was co-director of a Center for Living Culture, and that's where they did cultural preservation, or still do, and revitalization through education and experiential learning. She's a grant writer. I mean, this woman is amazing. She does all sorts of things. She's a grant writer, a virtual assistant, and the organization she chooses to bring her expertise are ones that are really doing good in the world: food and medicine, transportation, um, faith and public life. It goes on, and we're going to get to hear her in her own voice share about herself. I do want to say how I met Joannah was it feels like it's been many years ago, but actually was a year ago, August, I guess, that I met her. And it was a global gathering of Indigenous elders who were invited by the Lakota, Dakota people to South Dakota. But it was under the auspices of a larger foundation who brings once a year this a group of people together to look at what are the priorities and how we're going to work together and things. And that's when I saw this woman who clearly is a lot younger in age than me. That's a good thing. And she did everything. I mean, she could sit there very humbly with the elders and help make things happen. She was always like any kind of thing that was happening, that was little friction, she somehow made them come together or work out. Um, Everything from that to humbly just carrying someone's bag, driving to the airport. So anyway, I could go on and on because I just love this Joannah and all the things and the time she has to contribute to the world. So with that, welcome, Joannah.
Thank you so much, Anita. I really appreciate your kind words, and these speak too much too highly
I
of
know.
me. I'm
Well, go ahead and turn that
just
and be humble,
doing
but that's
my
okay. So the first, I think what I would like to have is for you just to share a little bit about, you know, where you were born, what is your name, is there any meaning to it? It's a little bit no place in that, and your Indigenous background. Just some of your beginnings, if you could share with us.
Sure. I have a creation story that's similar to many people in this day and age, and that I grew up between two cultures, kind of on a bridge, walking back and forth. And I was born in the Philippines in the Cordilleras, which is the homelands of tribes people up in the northern Philippines. So I was born there. And I grew up in the United States. My father is Indigenous from the Philippines, and my mother is from the United States. And so that's where my bridge building comes into play early on at the beginning of my life. And I was raised going back and forth, and I was raised with a lot of my culture and my family, and knowing my ancestry and history and practices. But I was also raised in a world that, um, in a country that was part of colonizing my other country. And so there's a lot to be said about kind of straddling those two worlds and seeing where they join together and how we can bring about healing. And I moved back to the Philippines last year because I felt strongly that I needed to be in touch with my culture on a physical level. And so I moved back to my homelands in the mountains, and I went to work with my father um, for a lot of cultural work that he's been doing for many, many years, and to relearn my language and to learn the practices and just be on the earth and doing the kind of simple living that my ancestors did. Just learning how to do that, connecting with it, and teaching other people to do it as well. So, yeah, that's where I am right now. I travel a lot. I've been traveling for many years, teaching and mostly learning really from Indigenous siblings and sisters and brothers and aunts and uncles and grandparents around the world, and being inspired by them. And that's what brings me into this space where I am now, to be able to just sit in community and communion with my indigenous folks around the world. And yeah, that's me.
That's
My
great.
name is Joannah and White Tindongan, and Waya is my native name. I am part of the Tuwali subtribe of the Ifugao tribe in the northern Philippines in the mountains. And
Mm.
it's really a gift to be from that tribe, because when the Spanish came and colonized over 300 years ago, that was one of the regions that they couldn't quite get to. And so it preserves a lot more heritage and language and cultural practices and traditions than a lot of the rest of the country does. And so it's a real gift to be able to go there and learn directly from my father, um, who has a very significant lineage in our tribe. And yeah, it's a real gift to be there in this living tradition, is what we call it,
Yes.
and sharing it and, living it.
You'd say your
Yeah.
father has a significant lineage. Um, could you say a little bit more about that, and what, when you were there with your father, what are you actually doing? And it, so that people really understand.
Yeah, so my father is an eighth generation Mumbaki, and the Mumbaki is the name of, I suppose you would call it, a spiritual leader or a medicine man or a native priest. It's our word for that kind of position. And he is a caretaker of the Baki religion or spirituality that we practice in Ifugao. And so, as I said, he's eighth generation. And so he carries this lineage from his ancestors. He learned and was initiated by his father. And it's a position that unfortunately is in decline in our communities. There are very few Mumbakis left. A lot of them are older, and because they're responsible for taking on and conducting a lot of ceremony and ritual that's surrounding healing plants and healing people. Um, it's a position that's very community based. You call the Mumbaki to come and perform the ritual when you're engaging in one of these times of year for a healing. And because there aren't a lot left, we're struggling to maintain the spirituality. You know, there's a cross. We live with Christianity as a result of the colonialism from Spain and from the US. And it's a real struggle to get young folks to still be interested in the traditional way of living, the rituals and ceremonies that take place, even the language and the way that we recognize our ancestors. And I will say that it, we're a very proud people in the Cordilleras. We're very aware of our heritage and our background. But there's a battle with this worldwide, you know, colonialism and imperialism that kind of strips and chips away at these traditions. And because of that, yeah, we're losing our keepers of our spirituality, and it's quite a sad thing. So when I'm with my father, I try and just bear witness and attend these ceremonies and rituals. We are planting rice. Our region is known for our rice terraces, so we're planting rice in the traditional way, um, organic, because we're also battling with the fertilizers and pesticides and the way that these methods of control are even in our food and our clothing. And so we try and live simply where we are on our land. And when we have folks come and visit us, we bring them to the rice fields to put their feet in the mud and put their hands on the food that we're going to be eating, and to have a relationship with the natural world that's all around them. And that's very much a part of it. The spirituality and the agriculture systems and the language and the customs are all really closely intertwined. And we just want people to experience how life used to be, that simple way of living, a real connection with everything around you and the people around you. And there's nothing that quite compares with that experience than actually going there and having your feet on the soil and breathing the air and walking through the water and along the terraces. And yeah, again, it's a real gift to be able to share it with people and to be able to teach. And I also learn every time I bring people out there to cook on a fire, to plant the rice, to do the rituals, to go pick food from the garden, to go walk a little ways to the spring to fetch drinking water. All those things are part of the way that we used to live, and that's one of the biggest impacts I think we can have, is to just share, relearn how to do this simple living in this crazy busy world that we're in now.
Yes. Well, I can hear, as you talk, I'm sure that the viewers and listeners are feeling the same thing, which is, I want to go stand in that water and that land, food, because um, you're a very good person to be sharing your culture and because it really came through. Like, why wouldn't you? And given the craziness in the world right now and the anger and all these things, that there are places where people are continuing to share the culture, the language, the food, the water, and not in a destructive way. When you said, no pesticides, but that's very hard to do too, because the wind blows things everywhere. So being able to do that is, I think, one of the things many people around the world are coming and looking to Indigenous people, like being inspired, so they can go do it where they're at. They need to be able to, and to learn and things. So thank you for sharing that. I'm not going to let it go. If you're willing, early on you said, and then we'll get back to this. I tend to jump around, so thank you, Joanne. Um, so you said something about your creation story. Can you share that? And you don't have to if you don't think you should, but your creation story I'm sure people would love to hear.
Yeah, there are a few different creation stories from my tribe, and a lot of them tell the story of Bugan and Wigan, the first people. And I think that in order to share some of these, the best thing would be to come to the site where it happened, where the flood happened, which is down the road from us. or to be sitting around the fire of an apapoi, which is where you stay up late and just share stories and gather around together. So that's really the best way to hear these
Very
stories,
good.
and I invite anyone to come and hear them. But it, the important thing about these creation stories and the way that we keep them living um, is that we tell them. And so for a lot of our ceremonies, you'll hear chanting in our native language, which is, the most indigenous way, this oral storytelling, this oral preservation. And when these stories are chanted in our native language, when we're having these rituals, sometimes they go all night, and you have a couple mumbakis around the fire, and they're just chanting for hours, and they tell the stories, they call the ancestors. There's a lot of different pieces to it. But my favorite thing about hearing them is that when you're sitting around the fire with only the fire as the light, and you have all these mumbakis and chanting the names of spirits and local deities and all the ancestors, you can feel in the vibration of the words in the native language and of the chants, you can feel the age to them. You can feel how many times they've been told and shared over decades and centuries, and it gives you this it it like it's like a trance. They're in a trance, and they put you in a trance with the vibrations and the reverberations of the language. And it's amazing because then your energy joins in with theirs as well. And anyone who's participating, who's also calling their ancestors to come and join in eating and to join in the ceremony, it just strengthens that time that you're together, and it shows our ancestors and the local spirits and deities that we do remember them, and that we are still telling their stories, and that we're still giving offerings and inviting them to feast and celebrate with us. And that's one of my favorite things about these bakis that we have, is hearing those stories and just feeling the weight and the depth of just the sounds that we have for hours.
Love,
It's really incredible.
lovely, these bakis. Um, you know, in the world right now, you're giving gift just speaking about this, because I think everybody's concerned about the frequency, the chaotic, the angry, the separated. And so when you're telling us this, it feels like everything connects. And even if you were in that place, you kind of join it, because it's so uplifting. It's so true when that happens. So we'll be sure to get the actual location of where Joanna's talking about on the written, so that you will be able to find that on the Be Here Now network. So I want to talk a little bit about what is happening now. And just from your perspective, I think a lot of people, all different ages, watch the show. But I think one of the things, and put myself in this, is that there's a lot of separation from the younger people and the older people in mainstream. What I find is like, no one, and yet when I'm with my Indigenous, that's like, no, the young people are there and the babies are running through. It's like, what do you mean a meeting where you don't have babies? What do you mean they don't have the young people there and airing and everything? So, um, can you tell us how you're making sense of this time, and being able, and your choices and living at this time?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, obviously, there's a lot of politics involved right now. And I won't touch on that now, although I am a very political person. For many, many years, I've been a community organizer for social justice issues, for human rights and environmental activists and Indigenous activists. So I am personally a very political person, because I feel that that is a place that I can help in the world. And I feel that it's the only way to do justice to sisters and brothers all around the world, Indigenous and not, people of color, everyone. So it is a calling for me, and it's something that I've put a lot of time and energy into and believe in strongly. On a more spiritual and energetic level, and I do mean that really seriously, because I spiritual to me always involves ceremony and ancestors and the land that you're on. Um, I think that we are caught up in some distractions that are keeping us from this connection from the land and the water and the sky, connection from, our food, connection from our ancestors, and our communities and the places that we visit. And I'm talking about distractions like consumerism and corporations, and just this way of convenience that we have in first world countries that really directly affects people who are not in first world countries. And so that in itself is political, but it also has to do with respect and remembering to be humble, um, wherever you are, and to your elders. And so I will say that one of the most inspiring things to me when I'm with other Indigenous people, like you said, we get together and we come all together, and there's nothing strange about it. I'm constantly impressed by how this young new generation, my generation and the one coming after me, they elevate women and they respect their elders, and it's just great. They do what they're supposed to do. They do it properly. They know they've been taught, and they listen and they show up. And so I don't think all hope is lost. I think we just need to remember our place in respecting our elders, respecting our women, respecting Mother Earth, Father Sky, the creatures, everything, the local deities. One thing that got taught to me a long time ago is that whenever I visit a new place, a new space, and I travel a lot, the first thing I do, if I can, is to go directly outside to the land and introduce myself and ask permission to be there. And I recognize whatever deities and ancestors came there before me and are still caretaking the place. And you have to be humble. You have to ask permission to be there, and you can't take it for granted. And so I think that acts like that and just putting yourself in that position, um, along with, as I keep mentioning, because it's this important, regular prayer and ceremony, are a way to reconnect us. Aside from the political, everything is interconnected, and you have to know that anything that you're doing will have an impact, like anything. And it can be tiring to think of how how much we have an impact on everything. I mean, I'm talking like food, transportation, where we buy our clothes, electronics, everything, importing things, exporting things, travel, taking everything. And when you are constantly remembering that, yes, it can be a plague because we're doing very damaging things to the earth right now. And it gets tiring to think, okay, I'm not going to buy this because I don't need it, or I'm not going to buy this other thing because this type of import hurts another community in another country. It can be tiring, but it's the only way to remember how interconnected we are, and to care, to put care in everything that we do. Um, yeah, it's
Beautiful.
a double-edged sword, and I don't mean that as a weapon. A sword can be a weapon or a tool, and or it can be a thing of ceremony and ritual. So again, there's so many sides to everything, always. And yeah, it's just important to remember that simple
I think one of
living.
the, yeah,
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry to make cut you off.
I
No, I just one of the things that bring to me is the whole sense of relationship. And I know that there are people yearning because I hear from people, people in community, people that coach, whatever it is that I'm doing, participating with, are hurting from not having those connections, a real connection, not just, oh, what you have and I want it, or whatever, status, whatever, but a true connection. And so one of the things she said, that I think everyone can do this is no matter where you are, if you're not growing up in your ancestral lands, wherever you are, you need to be humble and listen to that land, listen to those trees, listen to the water, listen and be there in gratitude. And in any way you want to show that gratitude for it, like and care, because we are that. We're the air that the trees are changing the carbon into oxygen, all those things. But that relationship, pretty much I'm thinking now back on everything you said, one could almost say relationship, relationship, relationship. And even with the unseen, the frequency is okay. I don't want to live in this lower frequency of anger and not enough and all, but it's a choice. You can do things to make that possible. And what I hear you saying is the ceremony, the ritual, the culture, the language, the wherever you are to honor. And so I invite people to do that. And I know that many who listen who are not Indigenous or do not call themselves Indigenous, um, they may feel like, well, I don't know. I don't know. But you can find out. You can find out as much as you can. And even before you go to sleep, just ask your ancestors to come to you in dream time. And they may come right away or it may take longer, but I've never heard anyone say, oh, that just didn't work at all. You have to stick with it sometimes. But I think that's what you're sharing in such a pure way. And also just listening and to the frequency of your voice, but also looking at you is like that. Since it's inspiring, it's inspiring. I think to all the people watching, listening, and inspiring to me as well, is to remember who we are, and we do nothing alone, and we have lots to be grateful for. And it does, as you said, joy. As I was raised in my Nawa, is it's joy. We're supposed to be joyful. It's not even a supposed to. You are joy, and responsibility comes with it. And that it doesn't have to be heavy. Sometimes it feels heavy, but mostly it's like, well, of course. And that's sort of what you were talking about. Like, well, of course, you you care for the earth and you care for the elders and the children and listen and all these things and get into action. So thank you.
Mhm.
I feel like almost we're in this informal ceremony when you were speaking, and I want you to be aware of that because it's very it allows people to know that they can choose. We all get to choose. And the choice now is really big because it's really the earth is going to be fine eventually with all the stuff we've done. The choice now is whether we're going to be around. And I really love all of us too and want us all to be around. So the other things that you have so many things to tell us. Um, and I do want to find out like what do you dream about? Like when you dream, do you have dreams um, and if so, what is that dream? Whether it's night dream, daydream, but what are you aspiring, or not only for yourself but for the world? And just name the dreaming in any way you want. I think that informs us too.
Well, today, in preparation with speaking with you, as you were talking about, I asked for guidance to be able to share what needs to be shared and to be able to speak on behalf of my tribe and my people, and to represent Indigenous folks around the world. And I think that I like to be clearly heard and to be able to communicate whatever is being told to me. And so that's why I'm so grateful for you to give me an opportunity to share and to be able to share whatever messages need to be shared, but it goes back to just asking for guidance and being able to speak what needs to be spoken. And I think that one of my biggest dreams is that folks realize that there are less barriers to connecting with our surroundings and with our ancestors than we think. Um, Asking for guidance and asking for help from our community members is one of them, and also asking for help and guidance from our ancestors and our guides, which is something that I do frequently. And they do communicate with me. They communicate in the waking world where I'll just get an intuitive feeling that's just very strong. I do have dreams sometimes that are different, and I love dreaming. I really put a lot of weight into my dreams, and I'll have regular dreams, and then I'll have significant dreams about elders that are like a storyline, and I wake up and I need to write them down so that I can remember them. And I get those when I ask and when I don't ask. So they come in many different forms. Um, and yeah, I just want other people to experience that as well, to experience that connection and that guidance and that feeling that you're not alone and that you can ask for help and direction. I want everyone to have that, just the same as I want everyone to be able to experience planting rice or growing their own food or building a fire and cooking over it or fetching water. Those are all things that I feel that when people connect with, they see the world in a different way. And so my dreams, a lot of them revolve around people just leaning into their experiences and knowing what it feels like to live rightly and to live in that connection so that they can then identify it again in the future. And that's one of the biggest gifts of being together with other people or being in ceremony or being around a fire, is that you understand and you have that feeling, and then you know where to look for it again, and you know how it's supposed to feel. And it helps you to determine what the right thing or wrong thing to do is or which path to take. And I think that kind of connection with your intuition is something that can help anyone in the world. And we're all students, we're always learning. There's no time and place on this earth where we're going to be done learning. So the gift of being a student, if you're able to take that time and energy to do that, just leads us towards more peace and happiness along with growth and challenges. It's all about balance. Um, and so, yeah, it's that student mentality and the experiences that I really wish for people. And I wish to walk alongside them in it. I have things to teach. I have lots of things to learn, and I am always there for people to do it together. So, yeah.
That sounds great. I had a great dreaming, and those watching and listening, I know many of them will want to support you in that dream, and in that dreaming of yours includes all of us, in that we're participating in that, and at a time where people are feeling hopeless and well, I don't know my dreams. Like you said, there's a lot less barriers than we think, and that we always can ask for the help of our ancestors, both our human ancestors, our two-legged ancestors, but all the ancestors, the land, the water, the birds, the creepy crawlers, the sky, all of it. And so that makes one smile for sure. And so those of you watching and listening, most people with dreams, they want to support it. And this one, like many good dreams, will end up supporting the dreamer too. So I'm really pleased with your response to that question. Okay, so we have a few minutes more, and what do I guess anything else you want to share, and maybe directly tied to going back to the Philippines in a few weeks, or what you're experiencing right now. Anything that I don't want you to go away as much as possible at the end of this and say, "Oh, I wish I'd said that." This is give a pause and just allow it to come through. What else you may want to share with us?
Yeah, I think I know what else I'd like to share. It continues the communication and the asking for guidance. And I just want to remind folks that in your journey, when you're connecting with your ancestors, not everyone who's listening to this has Indigenous ancestry that, you know, is still connected with their language or their homelands. And that shouldn't dissuade folks from connecting with their ancestors. There have been people that I've come across in the past also who are ashamed of their ancestry. I know there's a lot of shame connected to thinking about our past and who brought us where we are and who taught us and raised us and, who our forebears were. And I just want to remind folks that time is not linear and that we are in a constantly changing relationship with time and with our ancestors. So we're not only looking at things of the past, we're looking at things of the now and the future, and it all kind of merges together. So if you are having feeling shame or not wanting to connect with your ancestors for whatever reasons, remember, and this was taught to me by other elders, that you can teach them what you're learning now. There's no separation between the past and the present and future to where you can't help heal what has maybe physically in the time already happened. We're still able to do that now. We can still heal our ancestors. We can heal just like we can heal those who are going to come after us. They say, your ancestors prayed for you. Your ancestors prayed for you to be here and now, and they prayed for your life and your happiness and your abundance, all of that. Your ancestors prayed for you. And we pray for our children and our grandchildren and those who will come after. And we can also pray for them and heal them and heal those lineages and teach them what we're learning now. There's no separation there. And I think that's a very important thing to remember if folks get intimidated by the prospect of kind of entering into this space where they don't want to, is that, it's fluid and there's always change that is happening. And so let's bring that in a way that we can use it and feel how it feels like to receive healing or guidance and to give healing and guidance.
Yeah, I love that because we all have the power to do that. And I'm sure it's touching people's minds and hopefully their hearts too, but what that might be. But I want to just say the gift you gave me it. Think about that. You know, I think most people have had some difficult times. And it's not about comparing who's worse. It's just part of the, and it may be from negative behavior from the past. And I think of my father who was very abusive and how I realize at different moments, I mean, I've forgiven him for what he's done and knows that I know that he was doing the best he can, and I don't condone what he did in terms of being abusive. However, at different moments, I have in doing things, just being about my daily life or talking to 7,000 people hall or whatever it is. Sometimes I can hear him saying, "I'm so," and I'm thinking, "Wow." That healing you're talking about to the past as well. And then the good things that they have, you also can receive. So that's the piece I wanted to say is that if you really are, and I'm glad for you naming the shame or I don't know or I don't want to know, um, understand that, yeah, there could be some really tough things that you can help heal for them. But my father also had some good things that then I can own and move forward and 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 embrace it. So it's whatever. I just love your wisdom you shared there. It touched me, and I'm sure it touched other people. And want to share in your dream and what you are teaching us to go forward with that. So, with that, I would love for you to share with everyone, how does one get a hold of you? I'm not asking to give your phone number out, but how to name it, whatever that is, and excuse me, and also we'll make sure to have it written in the little verbiage about who you are and what you're doing. So how does one find you or your culture and this website, whatever it is?
Well, I'm not always easy to get a hold of because I'm a creature who likes to disappear into the woods and disconnect from technology and be in my own space. But with that said, of course, I want folks to come visit and to learn and to be a part of this world that we're always constantly creating. And so the work that I do with my father and other family and a lot of community members in the Philippines in our native territory of Ifugao in the northern Philippines. Our collective is called the Ifugao Center for Living Culture, and we invite folks to come visit. Sometimes we have immersion programs. We always invite volunteers to help with the rice planting and the rice harvest and processing, and to come and just learn and be part of the garden. It's a very physical experience to live with the land. It's hard work, and it takes a community to do all of the little day-to-day tasks and the caretaking and stewardship of the land and the crops and the animals. So we're always welcoming folks to come and learn and help and participate. And I'll certainly send you the information to get involved with that. And as I say that, I'll mention that we love to connect with folks. There's a lot of Filipinos in the diaspora who didn't grow up with their culture and didn't grow up visiting their country or with their language or with their heritage. So we love to reconnect folks with that part of themselves and their spirit and their soul so that they can understand more of their identity. But anyone is welcome anywhere around the world. We have folks from all different countries who come and visit, just the same as my father and I and others travel to different places, to other indigenous lands, and we share and spread knowledge. So it's open to anyone who is serious about getting back to the ways that we used to live, figuring out how that looks in the here and now, and really being respectful of cultures and knowledge that came before us. But anyone is welcome to come and experience. Yeah. So I'll send you the information on how to get a hold of me.
She knew I was going to say that. We will make sure it's written up there. And thank you so much for coming. And I'm really glad I caught you at a time where you were on your electronics, because it does help connect us. And I also get with the getting off of it at times is really freeing. I take, as you know, people to the Amazon, the sacred headwaters, once every year. And it's so hard for people the first day, day and a half. It's like, and then all of a sudden they go, oh, you can just use my phone to take pictures. Now I can think about who I am, what I am, relationships. Yes. So it doesn't mean it's wrong or bad, but full time, it's not so good. And you end up missing a lot of things, and I could really feel it in our conversation. So thank you so much, Joannah. I look forward to seeing you in person at some point. And for all of you who are listening to this is Four Sacred Gifts. And we just hope you have the most wonderful day, the most wonderful night, the most wonderful life. Thank you very much. Bye.